this is Ian. Welcome to another video. Today we're doing another video inside of my Hermitcraft season Clockwork series little thing. We are currently planning on reading episode 2, chapter 7. We will see how well that goes. And yes. Basically, if you haven't seen the other videos on this, you probably should, because spoilers. Things happen, and it's based on my Clockwork Chronicles world story stuff that I make. And yeah, I don't know if people will like seeing these, but if people are willing to just sit and just listen to it, I mean, I'm all for that. I'm all for it. Like, I'm okay with people with that. Yeah. Let's just get into it, shall we? Alright, chapter 7. Grian felt like he was staring out the window for an eternity, watching as the night drew on. The men wearing camouflage standing guard, remaining in their place. Clearly their jobs were simple. Keep watch, and don't let the bad guys in. Seemed easy enough. The YouTuber mused. That man wouldn't be able to get to him here, whether or not he'd managed to escape or not. None of Mr. A's men would. He wasn't so sure that would be the case when he was forced to move somewhere. Sorry. Noticed a little sniffly. Whether that be back home, which he wouldn't mind at all, or another new place. He just knew that he couldn't stay here forever, and the men had to know that. He shook his head as he turned away from the window. The men couldn't be that persistent, could they? Surely they'd leave him alone if they realized they couldn't have him, right? Sure, his friends in the Swiss village seemed to think that wasn't the case, but were they really sure about that? He was just one person out of thousands, if not millions, of YouTubers. Why was he so important compared to all of them? What did he have that the other YouTubers didn't? What would the men even consider him? Why would the men consider him a threat? He had a smile at that thought. Just seemed pretty silly. He could think of many other people who the men could probably target who would be considered dangerous, but him? Sure, he did have tendencies to set up pranks and some traps, but he wasn't as advanced as other YouTubers. He was still learning, and much preferred simple tricks over the more complicated shenanigans. Most of them were pretty harmless anyway. His thoughts were interrupted when he heard a knock on the door as he turned to face it, making it known that the visitor could come into the room. The door opened to reveal Liam with the strangest expression on his face. It didn't look melancholy, but it also didn't look like the face bearing good news either. So, what did she say? Grian asked, noticing the silence seeming to suck the air out of the entire room. She said she'd send some people out there to see what was going on and to do what they can to help. Liam reported, but not to expect news until morning at least. Oh, Liam Grian replied, shaking his head slowly. Do you think they'll be okay? You know your friends better than I do, Liam admitted with a smile. And you probably know those men better than I do, the YouTuber retorted simply. I know a lot of my friends can handle themselves, if they have to, but if the men overpower them, I don't know. I really don't. Well, hopefully we'll get some good news tomorrow, Liam replied lightly. You should probably try to get some sleep. I'm gonna have to have a meeting with some people to figure out what we're gonna do with you once we know your friends are safe. Will it be bad? Could I possibly go home? The YouTuber asked hopefully. In the state you described? Very unlikely, the boy calculated. Eventually, yes, though. Given time and the right kind of people, plus a good planning. Right. How long will that take? Grian pressed. Liam shrugged, not answering the question with words. You didn't have to. These sort of things could take a lot of time to sort through, for all he knew. The thought of being separated from his friends for an indefinite amount of time made him feel slightly lightheaded with distress as he went to sit down. I thought you were already sitting down, but okay. William walked over to him and put a gentle hand on his shoulder. I know it's hard, believe me, the boy told him quietly. It's hard to know these sorts of things. Still, I'm soon to happen, so it's possible. Really? Grian asked, glancing at the boy hopefully. Yeah, he said with a smile. Will I be able to see my friends or talk to them? Yes, we can arrange that, depending on the safe house's safety protocols and what they decide to do when they locate your friends, the boy replied calmly. That'd be nice, the YouTuber admitted. I know, the boy said with a chuckle. It's always good to stay connected, in case there's trouble on either side. In that way, someone can get help. Yeah, the YouTuber agreed with and looked away from the boy. It's gonna be a long night, isn't it? I won't be far if you need anything, even if it's a walk through the whole building, the boy assured him. I'm here to help you, to the best of my ability. It's good to hear, Grian said with a smile. You already got me out of one sticky situation. Yep, that's my job, to help those who need it, the boy said simply. Of course, Grian nodded. Well, I guess that's good for now, unless you can get something to eat. I can arrange that, the boy said happily as he went for the door. Thanks. You've already been a big help, the YouTuber replied. I'm not sure how I can repay you. Liam turned back to face the young man. Smile on his face. There's no need to. Just try not to get into too much trouble. Yeah. Grian laughed nervously, shaking his head in amusement as the boy disappeared. He knew full well that it wasn't all that difficult to find himself in some sort of trouble, whether from a prank gone wrong or something else entirely. He could be more careful about it, though, for everyone's sake, as well as his own. Chapter 8. Grian opened his eyes, his nostrils burning with the scent of smoke as he found himself in the middle of an unfamiliar place. Where was he? What was going on? How had he gotten here? The last thing he remembered was falling asleep in a bed provided for him. Its soft pillow and cozy blankets. Not this place. Seeing destruction at every turn. There was rubble and debris everywhere. Trees were burned to wooden ashes, leaves completely disappearing. It looked eerie, almost dead, as if it wasn't already. Where was he? Hello? Is anyone there? Is anyone here? The YouTuber called, trying his hardest not to panic as he forced himself to walk through the rubble. It didn't take long before he found ruins of buildings and homes. The place empty and vacant, which appeared to make the place ominous and spooky. Hello? You won't find anyone here apart from me, the voice said hoarsely from behind him as Grian spun around, startled to see one of Mr. A's men standing before him, looking a bit tattered, but he'd seen better days. There were a few scratches, cuts, and bruises, seeming to suggest he'd been in a fight at some point. Did you do this? Grian asked, nervously, as he took a step back. I was only doing what I was told, the man said firmly. After you escaped, we were ordered to destroy the place and anything that moved. We didn't stop until we found everyone. Your friends are gone, thanks to you. It's not my fault, is it? The YouTuber demanded, taking another step back as the man slowly walked towards him. He didn't like this at all. Nothing about this was right. If you had just surrendered like everyone else, this wouldn't have happened. Your friends could still be alive. You hadn't been such a coward and left them to die. The man sneered coldly. I'm not a coward, Grian said boldly. Yet you run from your problems. Isn't that the definition of what it means to be a coward? The man asked, tilting his head to one side curiously. You've abandoned your friends when they needed you the most. And what did you get out of it? Nothing. I'm not sure I understand, Grian replied. The man chuckled darkly as he extended his sword, his dark eyes gleaming with rage and desire. It didn't look as if the man would back down. I messed up there. It didn't look as if this man would back down. Was it worse trying to run? Could he even outrun this man? What was he meant to do? Accept your fate, YouTuber. That's all you want. That's all we want. Why do you get to choose my fate? What? My fate. The YouTuber snapped. Why do you get to choose what happens to us? Don't we get a choice? It's never a choice for your kind. The man smiled coldly. You're all destined to die in my master's eyes. Grian shouted it as the man lunged for him, running away from him as fast as he could, only realized he wasn't going anywhere. Just as he toppled to the ground, turning back to see the man looming over him. What do you want from me? Grian asked meekly, cowering under the man's shadow. Knew there was no point in running now. He was cornered, trapped, dead for. Mr. A wants what he wants. He'll do whatever it takes to get it, the man said with a cold laugh, raising the blade as Grian looked away, closing his eyes as he prepared for the inevitable. The next thing he knew, he opened his eyes again, to find himself safe and sound, inside the bedroom, inside of the school building. But was it a safe house? It was probably both. It's just been a dream. Horrible nightmare. Yeah, I just did that too. Hey, it's a warning. If you didn't like that, you should probably back out. So for a short period of time, that should be fine. It gets darker though. Yes, it does. It gets darker. He groaned as he sat up in bed, pushed back the covers as he wiped the sleepers from his eyes, noticing that the light was slowly starting to pour into his bedroom. The morning had arrived. He hoped it would bring about answers to the questions he had deep down. That his friends had somehow been found and that they were alive. He looked towards the door, unsure if Liam would be willing to let him go to the room with him and find things out for himself. He wanted to hear their voices, to know for sure they were okay. He sighed as he stood up from the bed, preparing to get ready for the morning. It was going to be a long day. It didn't take him long to get ready. His thoughts were distracted as he headed for the door, wondering if he was even allowed to go outside of it. He shook his head in amusement, telling himself he would be fine, and opened the door, looking from either side before walking down the end of the hallway to find one of the doors was slightly ajar. He could hear voices inside as he silently walked up to it and peeked inside, not wanting to disturb whatever was going on in there. So everything seems to be fine after last night? Liam's voice floated from the room. He seemed to be just as alert and prepared as the night before. It appears so. The group will be planning to do the next stage when they're sure everyone has settled. A female voice reported through what appeared to be a white box on a table. The box had buttons and dials on it, which the YouTuber assumed was the communicator. That's good, Liam replied. I guess that means I need to sort out things here. Hopefully we can reconnect with them soon. I know our friend will appreciate that. Give it time, the woman replied. I have something to attend to, though. I'll speak with you later today about any updates. All right, Liam said cheerfully as the call ended, with them both saying their farewells. There was a long moment of silence before he heard the voice again. I know you're listening, Grian. How? Grian asked guiltily, opening the door to reveal himself as he stepped inside. The boy was wearing simple clothing today, which seemed to match the theme of autumn. Liam smirked and shook his head. I had a feeling you would, especially since it was about your friends. So they're okay? No one was badly hurt? The YouTuber asked quickly. From my reports, everyone is safe, the boy said matter-of-factly. Oh, from what Rose told me, it was pretty brief. Can I maybe talk to them? Are you depressed? I think it's better if we don't do that right now, the boy assured him gently. We can never be so sure there isn't someone listening in. Why would they care about me and my friends? Grian questioned with disappointment. Liam shrugged. We can wait until we know there's a secure connection. Till then, it's better to wait. Fine, but I hate waiting, Grian admitted, glancing over to the machine. Part of him slightly tempted to fiddle around with the buttons dial to see what would happen. He used every fiber of his being not to do that, though, as he followed the boy out of the room and down to the hall. Well, you're on your own for a bit while I sort this out. I have a feeling you might be lucky enough to be transported to a safe house tomorrow morning, the boy replied after a long moment of silence. Yay! Stephen said with a mock fiat. He glanced over his shoulder once more at the device, wondering if he even should have left on his own, especially with the antics he liked to be. If he even should be left on his own, especially with the antics that he liked to get himself into. He managed a small smile, wondering how many pranks he could pull off on people while the boy was doing whatever he needed to do. Maybe of you? Would he get caught, though, if he did small little pranks? Could he get away with it? It was a worthy challenge. It would also hopefully get his mind off the uncertainty that hung over him for a while. He would make the most of the day while he still could. Just no doubt about it. Unfortunately, we are going to end this here, and yeah, there should be another. I'll give you a quick. Yeah, okay. We're not done with episode 2 quite yet, but we are really close. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next one, whenever that might be. Basically, leave down your thoughts, ideas, theories, and all that stuff. You know. Any questions? Yeah, basically. And yeah, you can always check in with the other stories if you want, and all that stuff. And it's just interesting. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.